where God wants us to grow in is that He is going to take us out of that. Even if it's hard, even if it's not the way we want, He's going to make us rely on Him more, and He's going to be the one that's going to get the glory in the end. Welcome back to the What's the Dope podcast. I'm your host, Pete Dill. As always, I want to thank you guys for watching, stopping by, being with me here today. A little bit of a different setup, but that's all right. We're still going to jump right into everything. Today I want to talk about questions. I'm reminded every single day about the questions that are being asked me by my children. Why do we have to do this? How do I do that? How, why? All of these whys and these hows. Every single day, sometimes at the end of the day, I'll be like, honestly, I'll be tired of all the questions asked me. Everything that's asked me, I have to explain. And sometimes it's like, why can't I have ice cream for dinner? And, that's a fair question to ask. I think it's a totally fair question to ask a child, to ask a parent, why can't I have ice cream for dinner? But sometimes you just can't explain every reason you're going to stay up past your bedtime, and then we have a big day tomorrow, and if you don't get good sleep, you're going to be cranky, and you're not going to feel good, and then we're not going to have, and then it's going to be a crazy day, and we're all not going to be feeling good if you're not feeling good. So we're just going to stop this right now, and we're just going to not have ice cream. And sometimes that can be really painful for my kids to hear that answer. They're like, listen, I do not like that answer. I really, really, really want ice cream right now. But there are times that we just have to make the decision as a parent to just say, this is what's happening. Please deal with it. I'll be here for you, but you need to deal with this because there's so many more things happening behind the scenes that you're not really registering right now. And it got me thinking about how many times I'm asking questions to God. So much of my life is peppered with questions, asking questions to God, saying, God, why is this happening in my life? How do I do the things you want me to do? What does the path forward look like? How come this is happening to me? How come I can't get something else? Why can't I get a different set of trials? I wish I had more. I wish I had less of this. There's so many questions we ask to God every single day about the status of our life. And the challenging thing, I think, for us is that the Lord is constantly asking us to just trust Him more and trust in His process more. He's never really asking us to have all the answers, but He is asking us to trust in Him that He has the answers. And that can be really tough because I know for myself, I like to have the answers. I like to know the answers before the test. I like to know the answers during the test. During the test, I like to cheat in it. No, I like to know the answers before the test. I like to be prepared. I like to not be caught off guard during the test. I want to walk out of this test fully confident that I got a good grade. But life has a funny way, and God has a funny way of not letting us see the answers because He wants us to rely on Him more than the things in our life. He wants us to rely on Him more than money. He wants us to rely on Him more than security. He wants us to rely on Him more than our status. He wants us to rely on Him more than our outcomes. He wants us to rely on Him more than our relationships, more than our power, more than fame. Whatever it is for you or for me, He wants us to rely on Him most of all. And what I've learned recently, I heard from a great priest recently, he was talking about how God gives us challenges sometimes to make us rely on Him more. Not to punish us. I think sometimes we look at challenge in our life as like punishment for, I didn't do this right, so now God is punishing me for going down the wrong path. But a lot of times God is challenging us and stretching us and pushing us to rely on Him more. So when we go into the next challenge in our life, we can have a greater confidence that God's going to take care of it. But a lot of times we try to fight the challenges. We try to fight the pain. We try to fight the things that we don't want in our life because we look at those as punishment. We look at those as things we don't want to go through. We don't care how we come out on the other end. We don't even want to face that pain. I'm reminded of Psalm 13 where David cries out, "How long, Lord? How long, Lord?" He's asking Jesus, he's begging God to say, Lord, how much more do I have to go through this? So we can all relate to that. How long, Lord? How long are you going to keep me here in this? Where God wants us to grow in is that He is going to take us out of that. Even if it's hard, even if it's not the way we want, He's going to make us rely on him more, and he's going to be the one that's going to get the glory in the end. So when we think about our questions or our misunderstandings about our life, those are okay. Those are normal. We're always going to have questions. We're always going to ask how. We're always going to ask why. We're always going to ask where are we going. But I think for us as Catholics, we can then surrender that to God and say, Lord, I give you my questions. I give you my curiosities about the future. I give you my non understanding of what lies ahead of me. And I want to trust you more that you're taking care of my future, that you're taking care of the details, that you're taking care of the outcomes. Because God's not promising us freedom from challenges or trials, but He is promising us that He's going to bring us through those trials and those challenges and those tribulations. The more that we fight the trials and the tribulations, the less God's plan can come to life. So we have to accept the hard things, accept the challenges, accept the tribulations, and trust that God is working in the background, working in the details, and working to bring us out stronger in the end, and that our hearts are changed in the process, that we can trust Him more. So when we're asking questions of God, it's not a knock on our faith. It's really a way that we're showing our trust in God, but we have to surrender those questions, surrender that curiosity about the future, and trust that God is taking care of it. And this is obviously much this is hard. I mean, this is going to be one of the hardest things that we have to do, which is, Lord, there's all these things I have to take care of in my day-to-day life. I have to figure out how I'm going to get a lawnmower, I got to cut the grass, I got to do my job, I got to get to mass, I got to get these kids, I got to do everything I got to do every single day, day in, day out. And now you're asking me to trust you, to give money to this organization right now, and that I'm going to be able to pay the bills. That's hard. That is hard. But we have to trust that what we see in the Bible, we see the examples of the lives of saints, that God always comes through in the end. So that's kind of my mind. That was on my mind. I've had a lot of questions recently, and I feel like I was having some consolation in that. And thought I'd share that with y'all. A little bit of a different setup here, a little bit different style we got, but we're still getting What's the Dill out to y'all. Hope y'all have a great week. Please reach out to me with any questions, thoughts, anything. I'd love to hear from you guys, as always. So that's going to be it for me today, y'all. Hope y'all have a great week. Talk to y'all soon. Peace.